Hello, welcome to Pendulum Friday here at Soulprint. Thank you very, very much for being here. Um, Joyce, thank you very much for collecting the questions and sending them forward. I appreciate that so much. You have no idea. All righty. I'm just going to hop right on it here. Um, I think that there may be a couple of questions here that are going to end up getting sort of expanded explanations. So I'm just going to get started. New subscribers, welcome, welcome, welcome. My old subscribers, established subscribers, I couldn't do this without you, could I? All right, let's go. First question. Um, will members, I just want to hold on here. There, maybe that will be more helpful. Okay. Will members of SCOTUS be thoroughly investigated and some removed for accepting gifts or making anti-constitutional decisions within the next 4 years? Okay, that's a no. And the reason it's a no, I'm being told, is because it establishes a precedent that can create truly a disaster. Um, within SCOTUS because, every time somebody gets put on the bench that the other party doesn't like, they're just going to start investigating him and off he goes. It's not a good precedent. Um, I wish Biden had expanded the SCOTUS when he was in office, but he didn't. Apparently, he was advised that that wasn't the way to go. Um, what will happen, though, is that some of the over a shorter period of time, I think, than is realized. Um, some of the justices are going to leave, and there will be more um, left-leaning judges to take their place, and they're going to be young judges, so that it will stabilize the Supreme Court for several decades to come. But investigating, like seriously, if when Biden was in office, if they weren't motivated to investigate Kavanaugh, I'll leave it there. Are the majority of US citizens in favor of stronger gun control laws? Wow, look at that really, really, really strong yes. So, follow-up question by me. Are politicians being handled, bought off, encouraged to um, side with gun manufacturers in this, which is preventing the stronger laws from coming in? And that's a yes. Okay, moving on. Democrat Roy Cooper, and former governor, is running for the Senate, replacing Tom Tillis in North Carolina. Will he win the election? And that's a yes. Last week into the weekend, Trump had no public event scheduled and was not seen for 3 or 4 days. It sparked rumors that he had died. He's alive. Was he having treatment for his health condition? So yes. Did he have a health concern or a health episode? Okay, that's a small no. So it feels as if whatever went on in those couple of days that nobody saw him, it feels more like some sort of a treatment, right? Um, I hadn't heard this one. Is Donald using the possible amputation of his leg for sympathy? Oh my good God. Um, just ask. I didn't know he had gone down that road. Mhm. There's no answer here. Um, is it likely that such a medical procedure will be necessary? That's a small yes. My next question. Is he likely to um, have it done? Is he likely to give medical teams the go ahead? And that's a no. And is that because he would perceive that as being weak? And that's a yes. Let's not forget, this is the guy who didn't want to see war veterans who had amputations because he didn't like to look at it. Do Ivanka's children or grandchildren ever visit her grave? No. Does Ivanka care that her mother's grave is unkept? There's not an answer there. Her brothers? Okay, same non-answer. Let's ask this. And I don't want to start the whole controversy thing again, but let's just ask the question because it's the most logical explanation. Is Ivanka, are Ivanka's remains remaining in that grave? No. Was she cremated? Are her ashes, the urn, the ashes, in the possession of one of her children? So yes, people. Uh, Yesterday in a press conference, Trump said he was sending national troops to Chicago, or maybe it was New Orleans. 2 days previous, Governor Pritzker, I like him. He is so cool, that guy. It's just because I can't pronounce his name, but I do like him. Of Illinois said the threat was not due to high crime or immigration. They were preparing to fight him in court. 45 now won't say whether he is sending troops to Chicago. Is he going to back down? Okay, that's a yes, but I'm being prompted to ask this question. Will he send in a small unit so that it doesn't look like he backed down? Is he contemplating doing something like that? Yeah. Um, did he float the idea of New Orleans because it is a red city and state? Right. That's a yes. Because of course he doesn't want it to look partisan, even though it totally is. Are there going to be any troops sent into New Orleans? Again, almost a really small yes, almost a non-answer. So I don't feel like it's been decided, and I suspect that if he goes ahead with that, it's going to be very, very much the same as what he's likely to do in Chicago, which is just send in some troops, bring them out in a couple of weeks, and not a lot of troops, bring them out in a couple of weeks and say he cured the problem, because that's what he does. Over the weekend, a bag was thrown out of the White House window. Did the bag thrown out of the White House contain documents? Okay, that's like a really small yes. See if I can. Let's finish asking the questions. The White House said it was a maintenance worker who did that. Is that accurate? No. Um, he said that it was AI generated. Is that accurate? Um, okay. And then I just saw, well, I'll ask this one first. Is AI going to become his new scapegoat? Yes. You know, there's a lot of video out all of a sudden of him tripping all over the place and falling, like sliding downstairs, et cetera, et cetera. Um, you want to be careful that some of these things really are AI generated. Um, and frankly, that's part of the reason he's really willing to go after AI. He doesn't like what they're doing. Um, Apparently, then his staff said, "No, it wasn't AI generated, but it was the contents were." They used a fancy word. I actually had to look it up. Um, it, Meaning it was benign. It's innocent. There was nothing in there that should concern or worry anybody. Is their representation of what happened or explanation accurate? No. Okay. Let's try this question. If it wasn't document, was it something that they wanted to get removed out of the White House? Was it something else? Was it something that, if found, would be incriminating or embarrassing? Yes. That's as far as I'm going with that one, I got to tell you. All right. During the testimonies taken place over at the gathering, over 100 Jeffrey Epstein survivors on Capitol Hill, there were two jets that flew by very loudly and someone shouting on a bullhorn nearby. All right. Was that, let's start here. Was that done on purpose? Was the timing calculated? Yes. Um, were those events ordered by Trump or Mike Johnson? Yes. Um, If that behavior ultimately um, end up setting up a narrative where they were clearly trying to block those conversations or communications or statements being made, is that going to is that being how it's perceived? Yes. Will the Epstein victims be supported by the public? Yes, strong yes. The Epstein victims want the full files to be released. They said they can compile a client list themselves and release them. Will they? Strong yes. Um, are they going to do that quickly or soon? Okay. So are they giving the Department of Justice kind of like a period of grace? Um, to basically see what they do? Yes. I don't know who I was listening to, but it was a brilliant, brilliant point. Um, somebody it was on a podcast somewhere, a video somewhere, and they said, so this really is the question. If the Epstein files were scrubbed of Trump's name, the real question becomes, why was he in the Epstein files in the first place? That's a good question, I gotta say. Um, okay. Tom Massey needs two more Republicans to sign the discharge petition, which would require there be a vote on the Epstein files. Is he going to be able to succeed with that discharge petition? Okay. I'm recording this Thursday afternoon, about 4 o'clock Mountain Time. Um, about like an hour ago, 2 hours ago, Mike Johnson said that there's no way that petition's going to pass. So is Mike Johnson either bluffing or sort of threatening members? Yes. And apparently, Tom Massey has gone public with some of the threats that he has received over pushing forward with this petition. So, they are not above pretty much anything. Um, will he get two or more Republicans to sign the discharge petition? So yes. Will the Epstein files in their totality ever be released? Yes. There's a lot of really powerful people that are on that list. It's not just Trump, if he is allegedly. Um, and so that's part of what's going on. We can all hyper focus on 45 and say we want to know what he was doing there and what was going on. But there's other members of powerful members of society um, whose names are going to show up. And I think that that is sort of part of the calculation. Um, but I mean, energetically, I have to say, it feels like, um, if those files or when those files eventually get completely released, it will be because the victims have either gone ahead with the list and released it or are making their threats so credible that um, it's more frightening for them to be talking than not. This is a thing, right? So there was a birthday file or whatever it was, and there was a list of this and a list of that. So um, it's one thing for the file to say, um, Joe Smith is on the list. It is quite another for a victim or two to say, and this is what happened when I was with Joe Smith. Really, really, really different. Just think about that. Um, if little D.D. Vance manages in whatever way he tries to sit in the big chair, does he have the character, competence, and appeal to get voters he needs to stay there after the 26th election? He does not. And as I said, during the mini that I released on the minis that I released on Wednesday, his biggest problem is he opens his mouth without engaging his brain. And so he ends up saying things that are really insulting. Um, and it comes across as being even more um, entitled. So yeah, it's not a good thing. Does Pete Hegseth really want to be JD Vance's VP? Apparently he does. Does he think my question, does he think that if he is the vice president, it will make it much easier to run for president? Yeah, that's it. Okay. JFK was grilled on the Senate floor today, Thursday. In a hearing, he was attacked by senators, and Jennifer Warren said that JFK Jr. should resign. Will he resign? Okay, no. Will 45 ask him to resign or fire him? That's a yes. Um, I saw a little clip, and I wish I could remember who it was that was asking the questions. Um, and he started off saying, Donald Trump is really, really interested in winning that Nobel Peace Prize. And in all fairness, he gets credit for getting that COVID vaccine out in such a short period of time. And in doing that, there were a lot of lives, millions of lives that were saved. Do you think he should get the Nobel Peace Prize? And he said yes. And then he wanted to talk, and the guy cut him off and said, "That really surprises me considering you are so anti vax and you think they're all poison and you think they're dangerous." I had to snicker. I did. Okay, there we go. That's the end all of this week's Pendulum Friday questions. Really, really good ones, really interesting ones, kind of interesting answers in some cases. Okay. So, it's the weekend. What am I going to say? I'm going to say, make sure you do something nice for yourself and someone else. The more stressful the energy becomes, the more important it is that we all remember to take the time to take care of ourselves and our mental health, our stress levels, our blood pressure, um, and possibly, maybe the calories that are being consumed by comfort food, possibly. um, because I have like 4 pounds here, but I'm not exactly sure how it showed up, but it sure as hell did. Anyways, something nice for yourself and someone else. I really hope to see you next week. And I am doing private readings. There are some on this. I'm currently booking the last couple of days of September, so the 29th and 30th, and into the first and second week of October. I don't know how that happened either. How on earth did we get to October? All right. Thank you very, very much for being here. Until next time, take care and be well. See you soon. Bye bye for now.